Hi, beautiful ladies. Welcome back to the She Has It All podcast. Today it is International Women's Day. I'm super, super excited. What a great day to actually be able to start an amazing day with someone as amazing that is being interviewed, that is, just getting it all in as a female. I have with me today Carmen Crypto. Welcome, lovely. How are you?
I'm having a fantastic day. Here in Las Vegas, Sin City girl, I rise and grind at 7 a.m. We have a lot of shows to accomplish today and a great message to get out. And as a boss queen in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space, that's just how we roll. So I'm excited to be here and thank you for the opportunity.
Can you just listen to her intro already? I'm super excited. I know very little about crypto. So, how did we even meet? How is she even on the podcast? Well, another photographer, and I, we are both boudoir photographers. She is actually in Dallas. She is getting all the women in Dallas that are ready to get empowered, that are already empowering other women, and just being badasses as it is in their own field. And so that's how we met, is pretty much being advertised on TikTok. And Carmen came along and she's like, you know what? I'm ready to do this for myself. And I am ready to show off what women do in crypto. Okay. So again, I know absolutely nothing about it, zero about it. And I'm super excited to know how she got into it, where it has led her to, and so much more. So I'm going to stop talking at this point. Let's get right into it. Once again, this is Carmen. She goes by Carmen Crypto. And so go ahead and let's start off with the basics of obviously starting your boudoir session. What made you be interested and push forward into doing a boudoir session as a female entrepreneur?
Well, I can tell you right away, it was nothing I've ever done before. Obviously, I know that it's an option to me, and I've seen lots of ads, but I love being on social media. I'm definitely a pioneer in the virtual space. So the way that I turn my brain off is kind of scrolling through TikTok. But I met your brand at a very interesting time because during that moment, I was reinventing what I should look like as an entrepreneur in the Web3 space. There's a lot of flexibility for me to create my own path and to create my own brand and to work with entities with my own terms. And because of that, I was like, there's a lot of flexibility there for me to be a part of your, vision, which was more than just giving me as a client a boudoir shot and sorry, shoot, and I had a purpose for that because I had a Christmas gift to give. And it was one of my things that I think really represented my love and passion and intimacy between my partner. But the extra opportunity to be a part of a bigger project, to be a female entrepreneur and tell my story and have access to your audience and your community, and hopefully positively impact them with some motivation to say, look, I can do these things too. It was a very synergetic kind of nexus point for me. I think a lot of women, when they're in a professional setting, really try to steer away from that kind of brand image. And I was finding myself with a lot of freedom to do that. And so I'm proud of it. And I've shown, that picture that I've chosen for the magazine, and I've showed it to my teams, my clients, and said, this is kind of my way of standing up as a female and saying that I have the freedom to present myself however I want if I feel like there's a positive impact to that. And I was never in a situation in my, we call it Web 2 life, or my rat race career in retail sales, that might have been unacceptable. Some people might get called to HR for that kind of stuff and say this is not brand appropriate, and there's a lot of control around that. But having that session with you, I think we found a lot of opportunity for me to just kind of even grow out of my own skin and be proud of the woman that I've become, and understand that we come in all forms and shapes and sizes, and we can celebrate that at every single moment.
And I absolutely love that. I'm just going to go a little bit into her session. It was more than a session. It was more than just being a client. It is a vision that we are having. Again, myself and the other photographer is just being able to celebrate women in a different way. Again, we do get very pushed down almost by society, the way we should be dressed, how we should be dressed, how we should be as females, how we should act as females. So I absolutely love everything that you said. I remember the day that she came in for her session. She brought tons and tons
Tons.
and tons and tons of lingerie. I was in awe. It was such an amazing experience to be able to see the the passion that women have behind closed doors. And that's also what I saw as well in that session is the passion that she has, you know, for even the smallest jewelry that you brought to your session, you know, what that represents for you, the type of lingerie that you brought, the type of outfits that you brought, you know, the type of accessories that she brought. She brought a crown. That was one of
I
the pretty
did.
much images that she chose as her final image, and it just represents who you are. And that's what I absolutely love about what I do is I personalize it to the point where I'm seeing you. You're not just another number as a client. You are just showing who you are, being passionate about what you do, who you are, and what you represent as a female in this world. So thank you so much for that. Go ahead and tell me what how did you get into crypto? How long have you been doing it for? And how do you impact women nowadays?
Yeah, so, I'll go through kind of like the real elevator pitch of just, I think, what blockchain technology, Web3 industry, and this whole facet of financial tech, I think it made me realize that first and foremost, I've always been a pioneer. So, taking a look back at some of my youth years, at the age of 16, when the internet came to my country, and I'm from Saipan, I had to go to get a job at the local library in order to be able to access the internet. They had 10 computers there. And from there, through that whole summer, I realized that there was a need. And back then it was CD-ROMs and CDs and it was Web 1. So you couldn't really interact with anybody on the internet. It was just education. So from a library standpoint, I found out that there's a need, and my economy is driven by the garment factories. And so I went to the garment factories and asked them for donations of funds to the library so that we can amplify those systems. And that was to the tune of $40,000. And
Wow.
that's when I think I really stepped into understanding that I love technology. I'm a pioneer, and also a businesswoman. From there, I became valedictorian of my class of my one public high school in my country, and I was afforded a college education. So I have an undergraduate and a master's degree. And I created a career that first went into the retail sales realm with wireless technology. So I was at the precipice of technology in the wireless business before internet hit the phones, and I
Oh,
was there through that entire transition. So I was really there at the front lines, helping people understand what tools and technology can do in terms of creating efficiencies, creating valuable connections, connecting them to those that matter most, and really solidifying better relationships globally and within families. And so that impacted me. And then I took a different step into another industry, which was diamonds and gold. So I worked with one of the largest global jewelers, and that really took my mindset and my relationship to money and negotiations and sales systems and amplified it. It took me to a whole nother tier.
wow.
I kind of like re-envisioned myself as a more professional woman. I was leading teams. It was about consistency. And I really honed in on my business mindset with that experience. Now, my entry into crypto was really unique because I had a vacation from work and I wasn't going to go anywhere. And so, without any friends, family, or coworkers that were into crypto, the Bitcoins, the Ethereums, oh my gosh, we got this much money, we made this much. I just went in with an open mind and said, I want to learn something new. And that was January 10th of 2021. For anybody who is in this industry, that was kind of like in the rise of Shiba Inu and Elon Musk getting into crypto and the GameStop fiascos. And so there's a lot of energy going on. There's a lot of scamming and cash grabbing too, because it's an unregulated industry. And it only took a couple of scars on me to understand that I didn't know a lot and that getting behind the screen and getting onto teams and going into the decentralized finance, where there's a lot of freedom and a lot of access, but also no barrier to entry. It's very scammy and riskful, but there's some great things that come from that. And there's some foundational belief systems that can really be scaled up. Now, 2 years later, I actually am head of business development for a decentralized exchange.
Wow,
I've
congratulations.
met fantastic, mentors and advisors from the FBI, the Army, from the government blockchain. I specifically want to see that if this is Web3, this is the next nexus in how we interact on an internet level, then we need to surround ourselves with the right people. And it's not just about making the giants richer, it's about transforming them and giving people more access to their wealth, their assets. It seems very scary, but I knew nothing about legacy finance. I came from a very underprivileged country. My relationship with money is like with most people that are probably watching here. We don't have access. We weren't grown, we weren't brought up in families that had that kind of education and access. So we kind of wing it. But I think we have a very powerful opportunity here. And as a female in the space, there's very few of us. But where I found my wheelhouse being is that I'm very calm, very educating. I can walk people's, hold their hand and walk them through the process of overcoming the intimidation and learning the technology. And once you get to the other side, you realize that everyone has a talent and a place to be and they can help build. But this is really going to be a new era and it's a lot to digest. And so we always say we got to create a gateway for people to feel comfortable to come and learn. And because I've already experienced all the scars and the scams and getting wrecked and losing a lot of money, we don't want to see that happen to everybody. We want to stop those systems and we want to build and create systems that people can trust. The optics out there are really bad. So we need powerful women in this space that are going to handhold a lot of people and open up a lot of opportunity for others.
And that's amazing. And I absolutely love what you just said right now of I'm going to hold your hand and move you forward. Again, everything that you ever do, even if it comes to a boudoir session, if it comes to crypto, everything is new. Everything is evolving very quickly. And so I think that's one of the things that a lot of humans need just in general is someone to be able to guide you into the next step. Because again, we do hear it over and over and over again for those of us that are not crypto savvy. We hear, most of it is scamming. That's all we hear, most of it. Again, there, of course, you are in the industry and you know more about it than the rest of us, but we just hear scamming and we're like, yeah, we don't want to touch that. So just being able to move forward and move along with the clients to move them forward in the right direction is already huge. And that makes it, I think, even more interesting for those that have been interested in crypto to be able to move forward, that there are still good people, just like kind of good cop, bad cop. There are still good people out there that are willing to help you and to understand that industry at the end of the day.
Yeah, there's a differentiation that I think creates an aha moment for a lot of people that I talk to because when you hear crypto, it's very intimidating. It feels very scammy. There's a lot of examples of people who have lost really big. And then the NFT markets, it's all monetization of the technology. And I like to educate people and go back to just the foundations and values and ethos of blockchain technology. Blockchain technology is a ledger system that's immutable, which means that we can record transactions and interactions. And hopefully, the future of this is really creating a trustless system. So we see a lot of small businesses being grown, and that's the monetization of this tool. That is what needs to be regulated to protect consumers and give them confidence to be able to come into these markets. But this is just like when we were able to put credit cards on the internet. It didn't mean every single website had to be a monetized website. In fact, we ended up with Facebook and social media, and what a great innovation that was to enhance the connections and our ability to connect. But what it comes down to is that blockchain technology is a really great way that when we integrate those into our existing legacy systems, they actually create a lot of transparency. So just recently, last week, I was out in Tampa working with one of the number one brokers for SAM registrations here in the United States. I paired them up with a tech solution, and we're be able to implement systems so that businesses that are coming in to work with the government can start to integrate their documents and
Wow.
the way that they manage their funds on the blockchain. Because once that transaction's there, you can't mess with it. It's immutable, which means you can't alter it, you can't manipulate it. It's timestamped, there's hashtags, and even if servers go down, it'll still be there. That is super powerful, and that's the fire that we have in our hands right now. And we're saying, what good can we put this to use? Now, some people are taking that and monetizing it with smart contracts and creating cryptocurrency tokens. And at the very fundamental of it, it's starting small businesses, whether it's a charity, whether it's an actual, like, I have Crypto Blast, which is an energy drink.
Mm,
These crypto tokens, they get a leadership team, they create a smart contract, they open and deploy that contract, and now investors can come in. And there has to be utilities and a purpose and a vision and a roadmap for how that business is going to grow. Now, the blockchain affords anybody who's investing into it to have a undeniable right to whatever those benefits are,
okay.
because it's on the blockchain and they own it. Now, that is really cool, but that's where the regulation needs to hold that space and make sure that the good players stay and they get a chance to thrive, and that we can eradicate the bad players that really shouldn't be there and have malintent in there. So that's kind of the general state of where we're at right now. But where I love to shine is, let's look at the blockchain technology. Let's look at all the benefits that are there between businesses, governments, municipalities. We're starting to see governments take, things like NFTs and put them into marriage licensing.
Wow.
And we're seeing titles for cars and houses go into the blockchain. There's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. And what we're also seeing is communities are coming together. So instead of the consumer mindset, we're seeing communities come together because they're invested in the success of that. This could eradicate kind of like that Karen syndrome, where people just feel that they have this general, I'm the customer, I'm always right. You probably don't even have a system to tell you how many times I've been to McDonald's, but I'm going to act like I own the place.
Right, right.
We can solve a lot of these social issues by creating that black and white relationship on the blockchain of how we're interacting with others.
That's amazing. And to know that you've only been in crypto for, you said 2 years?
2 years. Yeah.
What has been the challenges of being in crypto for you as a female? I know when we had your session, you said you guys are kind of almost seen as a minority, if I'm correct. So what have been the challenges of being a crypto queen, is what you call yourself, in an industry where pretty much most of the time it's male dominated? What have been those challenges for you, and how have you overcame those?
I mean, the challenge is to always meet and onboard more women, right? We want to see a balance in that. We obviously have a lot of male allies, but I think one of the things that I particularly come face to face with is that I become attractive to many projects just because I'm a female. It's not off of the basis of my resume, my accomplishments, my results that I've given, but sometimes, they want to grab me and say, okay, I'll give you a COO seat, or I'll give you this business dev seat, or I want you on this show, just so that they can almost present inauthentically a diversity amongst their team. And so women coming into this space need to be very strong. I mean, just in general, the industry itself, you need to understand that you're going to fail. You're going to fail often. You just need to fail fast. You need to get back up and move forward, because you have to just understand that it's about people. The technology is there and it could be used for a lot of good and trustless, interaction, but people are still holding the button to these things. Until that technology takes the next step, we're dealing with humans. I'm dealing with people from all across the country, and crypto doesn't stop trading. So I go for 24/7. Anytime I'm needed, I'm there. And that could be a really hard thing for women to come into as well. But you have to be aware that the expectations are that you're coming into a market that never sleeps. You're going to find a lot of bad people. You're going to fail a lot, but you're also creating this record of what works and what doesn't work. And the longer you stay in this, the more tenured you are. So that means you have to be very careful with who you spend your time and attention with.
And what do you mean by spending your time and attention with? It obviously sounds almost like the flight attendant, no, that they have to just continue. I actually just watched a TikTok about that not too long ago. It was always my dream to travel all over the world, and for the longest time, everyone told me, "Well, why didn't you become a flight attendant instead of an accountant or a photographer?" You know, I was like, I don't know. And I just watched this TikTok, and she went kind of on the back end of the not so great things of being a flight attendant. You don't really see family, you're always traveling, you're sleeping in hotels, you don't really have time for relationships, you don't really have time for friendships and stuff like that. So just listening to you, it's obviously you need to be, just know that it's like fast fast. And of course it's because it's so new, even though it's been been around for a while, it's still brand new, and it's still a lot of, just the way you speak about it is a lot of knowledge to be absorbed, and to be absorbed very quickly. I don't
Yeah.
think my mind could handle that. But yeah, what do you mean by you have to be careful? The last
Well,
sentence.
to your point, I've only been in here for 2 years. I feel like my blockchain resume, if I really went through every single entity, I've worked with over 150 developers and CEOs. And
Wow.
what it comes down to is there's a moral culpability to be very careful, especially when you have influence and you have access to share resources,
Gotcha.
that I have to be very careful with who I'm working with, because it is true. We build harder and faster. Like if I want to drum up a business and put it on the blockchain, I don't have to invest in brick and mortar. I don't have to get a license for anything in business. I could just deploy a smart contract. The barrier to entry to start something and actually monetize it is very small. And so that's where, if you have influence and you have resources, you have to be careful with who you're working with, because it is true. You can open up something, play the algorithm, manipulate the numbers,
Wow.
and look very attractive to a lot of people, and immediately get a lot of influx of revenue and funds coming in from investments. What you do when those wallets fill up, is that in the hands of somebody who can actually be there for 5 to 10 years and build a long-term scalable business? Most likely not. Not when they're copying the recipe of something else. This is where we see some of those derivatives. Bored Ape Yacht Club is one of the most branded and well-known NFT collections. We see Shiba Inu as like the meme token that a lot of people understand and know. And when people go in, they fall into this fear of missing out effect, where the stories are true. I've seen, $300 go to $90,000.
Wow.
That's what some people come in looking for. And they're not with the right mindset, the right behaviors, or the right education. And so there's a lot of traps out there. And so when you do have good resources, we have to spend our time, slow down to go fast, and find the right people with the right things to actually implement something that's going to work and have a positive impact. When you find the red flags with people, we have to address them quite quickly. This isn't a legacy system where we run a big corporation and a business, and sometimes a business deal may take months, and then it's on a 12-month to 18-month rollout schedule, and things really have time to cook and bake. This is Web3. If I just got notification about 3 weeks ago that we're going to launch a token for a marketplace, and then that marketplace is going to launch 20 days later. That's how fast these things
Wow,
move,
that's
because
crazy.
we don't have a lot of friction. So we can have a lot of people giving us the razzle dazzle and a good talk and great communication, but we need to see results. And that's one of the challenges we have. We haven't been in industry long enough to have longevity in the results. That's what makes it volatile, and that's what makes people fear us.
Wow, that sounds intense.
Yes.
Intense. It's almost like the stock market, I would assume that it is, obviously in a different way. It's obviously digital currency. Well, I guess, well, I guess the stock market
It's
has.
very similar to that, but imagine that you had no barriers. So, like right now, if you want
Yeah,
to go into the stock market, you have to go into things like Stash or Robinhood or
right.
like one of these broker type, and it's because the user interface for you is easy. You plug in your bank account number, it's an ACH, and now you're invested, but you have a middleman, and this is
Right.
centralized. So when they have a problem, if they get shut down, all of your assets are being held with someone else. Now, we have things like that in the crypto space too. You hear crypto.com, Binance, Coinbase, FTX was a big failure. Those are centralized institutions. Where I live is decentralized. So imagine if you went into Robinhood app and you actually bought your asset, but you put it into your own wallet and only you have it. Everything can crumble around you and it's still there for you,
Okay.
right? The only risk you have is whether or not that particular project is going to succeed or not, and if it's going to give you what you're promised. But beyond that, we have so many systems that are centralized, the banking system and all of these brokers in betweens. There's limitations to people like you and I. We can't just go into the stock market and put some money into something that's just being launched. There's a restrictions around who can do that. And most of the times it's the most wealthy people that have access to that. That's
That's
a disadvantage to us.
makes sense.
Decentralized, finance can actually open that up to everybody. There's a lot of different facets of things that are happening. What it ends up being, we don't know, but we got me really great people coming in and building their professional career in this space, bringing all that Web2 experience. And everybody has a place here: drinks, food, fine dining, real estate, cars, energy. I've seen them all. And it's all taking the tools of the blockchain and reimagining what that looks like with transparency.
Wow, that is amazing. It's a lot to take in, but it's very, very fascinating and interesting. And I think that's one of the reasons why we clicked too. It's just, and it's so true. What she did say is, she's very patient and she's very calm. She really is. She really is. It's just your personality, the way you carry yourself. How would you say this has built confidence for you if you've ever lacked it at any point? What helped you build that confidence with what you do now?
I feel like I had to grow into a person that was comfortable telling my story because all of a sudden my story mattered. Working in my career, people might ask me my expertise in whatever field I was in. Like if I needed to talk about a diamond or if I needed to talk about a cell phone model, all of that I was an expert for. But now I kind of have a zoom out responsibility to tell people where my journey has taken me because everybody entering this space is also on their own journey. And most people walking into space think that they're just going to be a trader, but we're all pioneers. We haven't even come to mass adoption, let alone addressing any of the resistors to the technology. But I also think that I'm sitting here and I have so much freedom to engage. So sometimes I'll be sitting down with an entity that wants access to my network, wants my education, wants my help with advising and consulting. And I have to tell them this is how I operate. This is how I spend my days. This is how I go in and network. And the only reason why I'm sitting in front of you today and you want me is because of that. So if our relationship is going to really succeed, you have to let me continue to do my thing because that's already bringing value to you. This means I'm not sitting down in your weekly meetings for teams. I'm not sitting down at a desk working on just your business because that's a Web2 mentality. You go in, you clock in, you get your check, and you leave, and you keep the lights on, and you figure out your work-life balance, and you try to thrive and grow in these, systems. For me, I'm like, no, I'm Carmen Crypto. This is what I love to do. I love to learn. I love to meet people. I stand on stage. I educate. I go into shows, and I need that freedom to go find out who's who in the zoo. I will build things, and sometimes I have to tell people I need to go on teams just to figure out who I'm really dealing with. So it's not something that I can sit back and say, oh, I've gotten to the top here and I can manage it and people come to me. No, I am boots on the ground, getting behind the screen. I get on a lot of teams. So I can figure out how things are being built. And all of that information is available to anybody who asks for it because we need to be open. One of my quotes that I say, share all your secrets. It's the only way to challenge yourself to truly be an innovator.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I can see how that helps you continue to develop as an entrepreneur, continue to develop as a person as well, because it just allows you the freedom that we all crave for. The freedom that, you know, again, I worked as an accountant for not that long, but I was in a cubicle where you just kind of start blending in with other people, and to be able to see that freedom in you, that confidence in you, to be able to just be who you are, do what you are good at, makes it that much more interesting, makes it that much more wanting to work with you at the end of the day. How did that combine in confidence with your boudoir session? At the end of your boudoir session, how did you feel? How did that help you? Again, we can't ever be, I guess, our cup full at the end of confidence. You still have to continue to fill that cup up, right? So how did that help you in confidence as well with the boudoir session that you had, obviously with me?
I think that, I know I came with a lot of like accessories and stuff. So I think that there is obviously a part of my life that I enjoy feeling beautiful. I am confident about who I am. And I love the effect that I have on my spouse intimately, right? So we took that and we put it into a photo shoot, and you were able to capture that through, my just nonverbal. Right. And I think that that was just a great dichotomy of an experience for me, because I'm constantly doing this. I have the setup for it. I'm constantly on camera. I'm on Twitter Spaces. I'm up on stage. But can you intimately know me? And this is a great first step in saying I am very feminine. You don't, I take a long time to get ready and to do the makeup and all that kind of stuff. But then to be comfortable in my own skin, I think is a public message to say that I know who I am. I'm not fitting myself into any cookie cutter. And it's a great example and alignment of my job, because I am a pioneer. I'm going into a place. Sometimes I look like this, but the majority of the time I get to live a beautiful life in pajamas. And I'm just at my computer with my coffee and my snacks, and I'm just getting stuff done. And so that was a really great opportunity for me to say, look, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. I'm publicly putting something out there that kind of puts me in my own skin. That you have to see me for me. And I want that to be a great message for women, because female entrepreneurs don't need to just be professional to ladder climb. You have control over your own brand, and just showing your skin, showing your femininity isn't something that should ever get in the way of your ability to yield results for anybody. And this is one of those things that, even if that went viral in public, I'm so confident that I did it with you in a tasteful way, with a great message behind it, that I see it as something that's only going to amplify my brand, as a great example. So instead of me sitting in front of a stage of women and trying to tell them who I am, let's show them. So I like to go and show people the results. And then from that, they can sit there and ask me, how did you do it? And I'll hold their hand and show you, baby, let's go. Let's go
I
do it together.
I absolutely love that. I have never heard it that way, of expressing or showing nonverbal, because it really is. I'm just pretty much, all right, girl, let's do it. I got you. I have the vision. We have the vision together. She, when she was getting her hair and makeup done, I remember I kind of paused for a second and I was looking at her lingerie, and I was just envisioning how I was going to photograph her. And she looked at me like she was almost analyzing me as well. Like, dang, this girl's like taking her shit seriously too. I was like, just as much as she's in for it and to help every single client as a crypto queen, I'm also in here to show the vision of how I'm going to show who it is that you are, what it is that you do, and how I can possibly show it in a passionate way. But I never noticed, again, because it's just, it's part of who you are. It's already kind of not a habit, but it's kind of just in you already. to just go and do what you have to do and just know that you're going to get the best images for a client. I never really had seen it as it's a nonverbal thing. It really is. And I'm like, I'm going to start using that. I'm going to start using that
Yeah.
for clients. To finish off this amazing podcast, go ahead. I know you went a little bit briefly into it. What would you say to a female that is holding back on doing a boudoir session as much as a female that is holding back on a career growth, even if it were not crypto, something else, just continuing to follow their intuition and their path?
One of the guiding belief systems that I've always had, it's my favorite quote for myself, that if you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. And that from anybody's perspective, and especially females who feel like they have limitations, step out of the comfort zone and try something new. There's no harm to you to gain confidence and to see yourself through somebody else's eye. Having an expert like Karina kind of like create this entire experience. I mean, I came in for the experience. I brought all the tools and I brought myself, but I really kind of let Jesus take the wheel in this session and let her be a master at what she's at, to draw out of me this whole other perception that I couldn't see for myself. I think we constantly are in a environment virtually where we create our social profiles, our professional profiles, our our corporate profiles, and we're trying to really control that image. But test yourself and give that control to somebody else and let them look through the lens, find your beauty. And also with this, holistic system of, it's not just pictures, it's not just grabbing money from a client, but it's really highlighting what they want their story to be, and marrying it with a whole nother look at who they are. You did it tastefully, you did it professionally. It was an experience that I walked away from and said, that was beautiful, because we interacted a lot. You got to hear my story. It was very catered to me. It felt safe, and I felt really like an opportunity, like, okay, let's try this position. Okay, let's try that. And the more you challenge yourself with just examples like this, you're going to find that you might succeed. And then boom, you're like, oh, okay, I did that. And then just move on to something new and keep on going. Win or fail, failure is a part of success. So you can't get to the success unless you get used to the failure. And I know today, sitting here at 41, saying, hey, I did a boudoir shot and I'm in crypto and I just kind of manage my whole career the way that I want. I would have never known years, decades ago, that this was the journey that I was going to be on. And looking back in hindsight, I go, wow, all of that failure made a lot of sense as to why I have the thick skin to still be here today. And because of that, I'm going to have a very powerful voice for others. So if you're a woman looking at this, get out of your comfort zone, figure out what your story is, what your goal is, and try something new every single day.
I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. I do strive for just stepping outside of your comfort zone. I am an introvert at heart. I know a lot of clients, when they see me in their session, they're like, no, you're not. I really am. I am a very shy person, but I have also, thanks to my photography, I have been able to step outside of my comfort zone so much that I could not possibly have ever imagined when I was a teenager, to be able to step outside of that and to just be able to highlight women in such a special, amazing way, and to be able to highlight Carmen in such an amazing way, just the badass that she is as an entrepreneur, is just, it makes it all worthwhile for me. It really does. And I could have not had a better podcast host or not host, guest today, to be able to just highlight what we can do as females. I always share it. As females, we put everyone else as priority before ourselves. And I think it's time to start making a movement into removing ourselves from that and actually fill our own cup first before we are able to fill everyone else's. Because once you are out of water, where are you going to continue to fill up the rest of those cups? To close this, go ahead and tell women where they can find you. Where, if they were be interested in learning more about crypto or just to know more about your story, where can they find you?
The best thing to do is to find me on Twitter at Carmen_crypto with no S at the end or anything. And where you'll find me is in Twitter Spaces. If you DM me, it's me answering. I don't have an assistant. I like to be authentic. So I love encouraging people to come into some of my spaces, my podcasts, my shows that I do, and come into some of the communities that I know are going to provide you that education and the hand holding. That way, if you're curious about it, or even if you have no intention on putting any money, it's a good place to kind of be a fly on the wall and start getting integrated with what the future technology is going to be. But I'll definitely be there at any time. You can see what I'm into. That's where I post everything blockchain and crypto. You can see what I'm up to.
I love that. Any knowledge is better knowledge, right? There's no such thing as not enough knowledge in this world. We eventually end up passing away not knowing not even a third of everything that there is out there. So even if you're not fully interested, I mean, curiosity, is best to just go ahead and learn something new. It never hurts you. My name is Karina. I am a photographer here in Las Vegas. And you can find me on Instagram at intimates_by_Karina. You can also find me on TikTok, the same name, Facebook business page, the same name. I'm pretty much everywhere. intimatesbykarina.com. Other than that, thank you all so much for being part of this podcast. Thank you so much, Carmen, for being here with me, taking the time to actually just sit down and talk about crypto and what a badass female you are. We are signing off. You have an amazing rest of your week and happy International Women's Day. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. How do I Bye.
Bye.
Okay. How do I